What's going on, Hamner Nation? This is Marcus. Before I get started, I want to thank you guys so much for your support. It means everything to me. You guys mean everything to me. From the bottom of my heart, I love you guys. Make sure you hit the notification bell so that way you'll get notified whenever I drop another video. Like this video, share this video, subscribe to my channel, and we're going to always keep this thing rolling. So, let's talk about the Easter eggs of Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. So, I was able to at least find several Easter eggs, some that I was able to at least go back and check again, but especially for the first time that I saw it this past weekend. So, for example, in the Marvel logo, you can actually see on the upper letter M, there's a shot where you see Wanda, Vision, Billy, Tommy, the whole Wanda family. They basically standing in front together as they were going up against Agatha Harkness and WandaVision. That was actually the first time that they've actually put an MCU TV series and put them into the OG Marvel Studios logo, which is actually pretty cool. And then there's also a shot, if you look at the letter M, there's a scene of Doctor Strange walking up towards the stairs, which is actually a callback to when he was walking up the stairs to Doctor Strange in 2016. So that was actually pretty cool as well. So those are the things that I actually saw as well. But as far as the cameos go, some of them that we already knew about, but others I didn't actually expect. So without further ado, we're going to go ahead and break this down. So I'm actually on Gamespot.com, and it's a credible website. They always talk about all the different Easter eggs, and not to mention I love video games as well. So, but yeah, video games and comics, I love those. But yeah, we'll definitely break this down as well. So from the beginning scene from Multiverse of Madness, we actually see America Chavez and Doctor Strange. We actually saw a variant of Defender Doctor Strange. They were going to they're running from the demon puppet that was actually manifested by Wanda Maximoff herself, and they were going after the Book of Ashanti. So this is actually America Chavez's first appearance in the MCU. She was first introduced in comics back in 2011, and then she eventually becomes a member of the Young Avengers. So I think in the future, we'll definitely get a Young Avengers movie, or Young Avengers TV series would be pretty cool, because Kate Bishop was also a member, and she appears in the MCU for the first time, and she's in the comics. And we also have Billy and Tommy, who are known as Speed and Wiccan. They become members as well. And then we also have Ironheart as well. So we'll definitely get new Young Avengers down the road for sure. Not to mention there's an Ironheart movie in the works as well, though. So, but her powers are actually nerfed in the MCU in the movie, because in the comics she actually has flight, super strength, and super speed. And then of course compared to the MCU, whereas she can only have super strength and she was able to open up portals which go into different dimensions. So those are the only two powers she basically has. So, but her powers are actually developing, as we see develop later on in the movies and in the comics as well. So, but yeah, we definitely pretty much see that as well. Not to mention the training that she actually received at Comitage by the end of the movie. So, but yeah, in the Book of Ashanti, speaking of, is actually one of the artifacts that Doctor Strange uses all the time in the comics. It's actually considered to be older magic. It's the opposite of Wanda's chaos magic. It was introduced in the 1960s, and then in the movie, it's a mythical item that can provide its user with anything they need. So it's a very powerful book that Strange uses quite often. And then we also see Gargantos. Gargantos appears when he gets ready to attack the city. And this was actually when Doctor Strange wakes up from his supposed dream of being like Defender Strange from the multi-realm, from the universe. And then on top of that, he wakes up, and then he was getting ready to go to Christine Palmer's wedding. Christine Palmer was his previous love interest. And as they were in the wedding talking, the city was under attack by Gargantos. Gargantos is actually one of the older villains. He's not really well known because he doesn't really appear that frequently in the comics, except for older Namor the Submariner titles. However, the more well-known squid-like creature is Shuma Gorath. Now, when I first saw the trailer, I, for one, thought that was actually Shuma Gorath, and I called it too. But, of course, Shuma Gorath is one of Strange's older enemies. He's also appeared many times in Strange's comics and Marvel comics as well. He also appears in the video games too. For example, he appears in Marvel Superheroes, the Marvel Superheroes vs. Street Fighter, and Marvel vs. Capcom too. So he appears in the Marvel vs. Capcom franchise, which is what most people know him from. But he doesn't actually appear in the movie. It's basically a smaller version, which is Gargantua. It's a smaller version of Shuma Garaf, because Garaf is very big. He's like super big. So yeah, so Gargantua is basically just a tiny ant compared to Garaf. I think we'll see Shuma Garaf in the MCU eventually. So like I said, he's a big squid, and like I said, he's also playable in the Marvel vs. Capcom franchise too. So yeah, my favorite moves are Chaos Dimension, and the quote was "Waste of Flesh." So yeah, I love that game so much. And I'll do a live stream when I play the game too, so I'll definitely do that as well. But Wandagore Mountain, that was actually seen in the MCU as well. First time we actually see Wandagore Mountain in the MCU. So Wandagore Mountain is actually the place where Pietro and Wanda were raised initially by a cow-like creature named Bova. She was the one that took the kids in when Magneto was always away, because Magneto, of course, is the father of Wanda and Pietro Maximoff. So although we don't really get to see Bova in the MCU for this movie, we actually saw at least clips and signs that Bova was there, but that was pretty much it. But her figure herself wasn't actually there. But the first time I saw that, I was telling my friends, are we going to see the High Evolutionary? Because that's his creation in the comics. And the High Evolutionary is actually one of the other beings as well. So he was the one that presides over the mountain. So, but basically what they wanted to focus on with Wandagore Mountain is the connection with the Darkhold, which is where they actually go to stop Wanda. So that was pretty much it. Then we also have Earth 838, which is the alternate universe where Strange in America crashed into, which is interesting enough. It doesn't have a notable counterpart in the comics, but that was the universe they actually landed on when they were trying to escape Wanda. So, and then on top of that, we actually have the appearance of the Illuminati. So we basically get a chance to see Strange in America. They saw a variant version of Baron Mordo, not the Mordo that he knows from his universe, but Baron Karl Mordo. He's the leader of the Illuminati in the 838 universe. And so the MCU version includes a different roster, however. So we got Mordo, we have Captain Marvel, who's Maria Rambeau, who's the mother of Monica Rambeau in the MCU and the comics as well. But her mom is a superhero instead of Monica. But then we also have Black Bolt, we have Peggy Carter. So Battagon Bolton actually shows up, which is pretty cool. We have Captain Carter, and then we have Reed Richards. Everybody marked out when Reed Richards showed up, because for so long, everybody actually wanted John Krasinski to play Reed Richards, along with Emily Blunt to play Sue Richards as well, because there were so many memes of the two married couple in real life to play Reed and Sue Richards. And obviously enough, Marvel Studios heard the fans, and they actually agree. So they do listen, people. They really do. So, but the organization itself actually goes back to in the early 2000s. So basically, they're a form of the most intelligent beings in the Marvel roster. So the original roster is Namor, Black Bolt, Iron Man, Reed Richards, Professor X, and Doctor Strange. So, and then on top of that, speaking of Professor X, Xavier shows up. It was kind of like a giveaway. Like, everybody basically knew, especially seeing the trailer for the first time, basically during the Super Bowl. When I saw the trailer, watching the Super Bowl with the LA Rams and the Kansas City Chiefs, seeing that, I was like, yeah, hearing his voice, that was Professor X. So it was like a clear giveaway right there. So besides the point, Professor X shows up. Good to hear Patrick Stewart as well. Definitely one of my favorite actors as well. And then this Xavier is a member of the 838 Illuminati. And then as he rolls in, you listen carefully. Another Easter egg that I caught, you can actually hear the X-Men animated series theme from the 1990s, which actually pierced my heart. And I had the feels the entire time because it was so good. So I was like, my childhood, hearing that theme song, it was just so cool. So I love X-Men, the animated series. Definitely one of my all-time favorite animated series. So it's really good. So, and then we also have Black Bolt. So Black Bolt is the leader of the Inhumans, and it was pretty cool that they got Anson Mount to reprise his role again, because he actually reprised his role from the very short-lived Inhumans TV show on ABC. It's now on Disney Plus, and I totally liked it too. All the episodes were great, but basically it was pretty awesome to see Black Bolt, pretty cool. And then of course he had the iconic mask and the fork to control his voice pitch. So, but unfortunately he met his end along with Professor Xavier and I'll just put it this way, the whole Illuminati super team, especially the way Wanda kills them off, was just not cool at all, though. So I was like, no, killing off all the heroes and everything. So I was like, man. But it was cool seeing Aston again. And then we got Reed Richards. Of course, as I said, everybody marked out when they saw Mr. Fantastic. So it was pretty cool seeing John Krasinski as Mr. Fantastic. And it's definitely setting the seeds for the future as well, with seeing Fantastic Four and X-Men in the MCU. And they're working on a Fantastic Four movie right now. And then on top of that, like I said, Wanda made some quick work on Reed. But he does mention that he has wife and kids. So we can safely assume that the FF are going to be pretty well established, especially in the MCU. So it's actually pretty cool. So I'm looking forward to seeing that. So we got the Ultron Sentries, who were voiced by James Spader. This particular Ultron Sentries were created by Reed Richards himself. I know in the MCU, Tony Stark created the Ultron Sentries, and of course in the comics, it was Henry Pym who created Ultron himself. But since Tony Stark was a no-show, and the rumors actually were debunked that Tom Cruise was not going to be in the movie, we pretty much had to say that was practically it. And then we also got a statue of Jocasta. So Jocasta is actually Ultron's bride of Frankenstein, so to speak. That statue was the one that fell on Captain Marvel, unfortunately, killing her. But Jocasta is actually the bride of Ultron, but she breaks free of his will and becomes a hero in her own right. So it was pretty cool to see that in the comics. But yeah, that statue was pretty much the statue of Jocasta. I thought that was pretty awesome to actually mention that, because it took me a second, wait, that's a female Ultron? That's Jocasta. So I was like, yeah, that was pretty cool. And then of course we have Captain Marvel. Monica Rambeau was actually Captain Marvel in the MCU Photon, and then in the comics as well, but her mother becomes the hero instead, the protector of the cosmos. So, but yeah, that was pretty cool. And then we also have Captain Carter. Captain Carter appears in the MCU. She was the one that actually took the super soldier formula instead of Steve Rogers. And so she becomes Captain Carter. And the fight scene she had was pretty cool up until she was impaled by Wanda. So I was like, not again. So yeah. And then we also had Evil Strange. Of course, basically Sinister Strange, Evil Strange was definitely the one that was actually was taken a hold by the Darkhold, and he was the one that basically was part of the Illuminati Council himself, but actually left the group, especially when they fought Thanos in their universe. So, but basically, you can pretty much see that this specific Strange is not really specified from the alternate world as well. So, but yeah, again, he gets corrupt by the Darkhold magic, and also just like in the comics, he has a third eye as well. So, and there's also the tagline that says, "Oh, Steven, what have you become?" So, and then we also have the Baxter Foundation, aka the Baxter Building, which is the headquarters of the Fantastic Four. So it was pretty cool seeing that. And again, it's definitely setting up the seeds for the Fantastic Four movie for sure. And the X-Men showing up as well. So, but we don't really get to learn much about the 838's version of the Baxter Building or the Baxter Foundation, or who's involved, who built it, and everything like that, because it's supposed to have been in the MCU's version, the headquarters of the Illuminati. But originally, the Baxter Foundation, or the Baxter Building, is home of the Fantastic Four. I think they're going to probably call it the Baxter Foundation in the MCU more than likely, so that's probably what they're going to go for. But Baxter Foundation, Baxter Building is still cool either way, though. So yeah, and then we also have Universe 616. So we got Christine Palmer actually explains to Strange in America that 838 has been studying the multiverse and has designated the one Strange in America traveled from as Universe 616, which ought to be a huge relief for a lot of fans who have been struggling to clarify what happens and where in the multiverse since the start of Phase 4. 616 has long been the shorthand in comics to explain the main universe in Marvel, where most comics are set and most stories are told. The same can now officially be said for the MCU. So basically, it was a conversation that Strange was telling, well, that Christine Palmer was telling Strange and America about the different universes between the 838 and the 616. So, and then we had the Darkhold. So, the Darkhold is actually the source of Wanda's woes, unfortunately. It's a cursed and demonic book of magic. It was first brought up in the MCU back in WandaVision, and technically it was kind of brought up in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., but it's difficult to draw the line between two versions, because I know like in later seasons, especially season 6, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. decided not to let it be set in the MCU anymore, had their own universe and everything. But Agatha used the Darkhold to infiltrate Wanda's rescue illusions. And despite Wanda overcoming Agatha's power and seeing the error of her ways, with the Westview disaster, the Darkhold's pull was just too strong. So basically, as we saw in the end of WandaVision, she actually used the Darkhold, which actually sets up the Multiverse of Madness, and of course trying to at least create an illusion to see her kids again, Tommy and Billy. So, and then on top of that, we actually saw the post-credit scene. So I'll pretty much spoil this too. The post-credit scene, Doctor Strange, like I mentioned before in my last video, basically his relationship with Christine Palmer is over, but we see Strange walking down the street, and then we hear a voice calls out his name, and then Strange asks, "Can I help you?" And then she actually walks up to him and tells him that because of your actions, you create an incursion which will affect the multiverse. And she cuts open the portal right in front of the middle of everyone, and we see the dark dimension. So again, Clea is actually the wife of Doctor Strange. She becomes his love interest, but it's kind of like an on and off relationship because she's the daughter of Omar and the niece of Dormammu. So the relationship is kind of similar to Spider-Man, Black Cat, Batman, Talia al Ghul, who's the daughter of Ra's al Ghul. This goes on and off relationships, but she does get married to Strange during the comics though. So, but yeah, Charlize Theron plays Clea. She actually appears in the late 60s and 70s in the comics. So, but in the MCU, she seems to be able to move between universes and is going to get Strange's help. But considering the incursion, speaking of, it's definitely setting up for a Secret Wars. So basically, Secret Wars came out in the 1980s. Basically, the Beyonder creates Battle World, and he wanted to test to see if there was any good and evil amongst the heroes and human beings. But then there's also another run in the 2000s called Secret Wars as well. So basically, one of the major risks of multiverse travel is the sparking of an incursion, where one reality physically crashes into another. The concept was used heavily during Jonathan Hickman's run on the New Avengers back in the 2010s. So if you're looking to learn more about the risk and possible solutions for such a catastrophe, we definitely recommend you start there. And from there, you definitely want to check out Secret Wars. So my advice, read Secret Wars from the 1980s and definitely read Secret Wars from the 2010s. That's pretty much how you'll know that they're definitely setting this up for another big event. So the last big event, of course, was Avengers Infinity War and Avengers Endgame, where they were dealing with Thanos. And this time, I'm thinking that the next big bad guy is either going to be leading up to Kang the Conqueror, and we'll see different variants of that too, though. But we'll also get other bad guys as well. So it says Doctor Doom, and then we'll get Galactus and several others as well. So, but I think Kang the Conqueror is definitely going to be the next big bad guy for sure, next to Thanos. So, and again, they're all major villains in the Marvel Comics universe anyway. So, and then on top of that, we'll get a Bruce Campbell cameo. I spot that when they actually enter in Earth 838. So my friends was like, oh, if I said Bruce Campbell, they're like, oh, that's Bruce. So yeah, it was pretty cool. So Bruce Campbell actually appeared in Sam Raimi's Spider-Man years ago, and they were actually setting up for him to become Mysterio in Spider-Man 4, but the project was canceled. But it was pretty cool seeing him again because, you know, Sam Raimi and Bruce Campbell are best friends because he's best friends with the Raimi brothers. So, of course, it wouldn't be a Sam Raimi superhero movie without everyone's favorite Bruce Campbell. So he plays a random gag character as a cameo. And then, of course, he appears in all the Spider-Man movies. There was different venues and street food vendors that were there too, like pizza balls. That was a good reference as well. So, and then, of course, he appears in the final post-credit scene, basically saying, "Get out of here." So it was actually pretty funny. So, but yeah, but basically, as far as that goes, there was also another cameo too. As Strange was actually walking towards the on top of the car, getting ready to finish off Gargantua's on the left side. I actually saw this on New Rockstars. On the left side, you can actually see Stan Lee's pizza parlor, and I was thinking like, oh, it's a good callback to Stan Lee, because like Stan Lee appears in all the cameos. He's basically the father of Marvel Comics, but having that logo as a tribute to Stan was actually pretty cool. And of course, his real name was Stanley Lieber, so that was actually pretty cool as well. So, but yeah, I miss Stan Lee, and he's always remembered. He's in my heart as well, because I met him, and it was actually a really good experience too, talking to the creator of Marvel himself. So, but yeah, it was so cool. But I'll post a video on my channel and talk about my meeting as well, and I got a video of that too. So it was pretty cool. But yeah, that's the Easter egg breakdown for Marvel's Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. I personally enjoyed it, even though my only tick was all the super team getting killed off by Wanda. That was my only irk about that. But like I said, it's setting up the seeds for Fantastic Four and X-Men to make an appearance in the MCU. So I'm happy about that. So I can't complain about it. And I know one of my other friends wants to see it again as well. So I'll definitely go back and watch it again myself, though. So that way I can explain to him. I'm sure he'll see my video too, but I can explain to him about all the Easter eggs. But hey, you're seeing it now, so Easter egg revealed. But yeah, what do you guys think? You guys enjoyed Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness? What do you guys think? Have you guys found anything else in the movie that I didn't even catch? Let me know in the bottom of the comments, because I definitely want to know from you guys. So if I miss out anything, just let me know, because like I said, I'm always learning, so I never want to appear like I know everything, because I don't. I just read all the time, and I basically just pretty much try to at least get information before I speak up on it. But if you guys caught anything, let me know in the comments down below, because I definitely want to know. But yeah, guys, I love you guys. Thank you all so much. Continue to like my video, share this video, subscribe to my channel, share it. I love you guys, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.